I feel like I've been on this kind of roundabout journey through spiritual traditions back into somatic, back into trauma, back into non duality and different ways, and kind of finding myself in the midst of it all. And I feel like this work that I do is really at the pinnacle of trauma and non duality, and it's both and, it's not one or. Many people I speak to in non dual communities will say, oh, there's no self, there's no body, there's just awareness. You know, when I talk about trauma, which self is it that's suffering? Who's the I that's suffering? And it's such a bypassy, dismissive question that I find personally. Whereas in the somatic world, if the practitioner has not really had a realization or an awakening, again, it's just another tool that's not going to take them there. So it's trying to find this, for me, this meeting point of non-duality and trauma where both are true. And I talk about it in the book as the dance between the absolute and the relative. It is true that there's no self, there's no doer, there's no little man inside pressing buttons, pulling levers, there's no me that's suffering on behalf of. It doesn't exist on investigation. I can't find it. That's true in the absolute. Yet in the relative, and as while I'm alive, and the same's true for everyone, I will be Jason in a body that has been conditioned and has had a level of adversity, and I have a physical reaction that happens. And I can't spiritualize that away by understanding non-duality more. It's important to discern like where you feel you fit in that stuff, because many people will try to use the non-dual approach and they make themselves wrong, like I did. That's a natural tendency to kind of go, well, if I could just understand this enough, if I could just understand this more, because it's a constant failing of self, right? If I could just understand this more, basically says that I'm failing to understand this enough to find freedom, which is not true. It's never true. So people stay in the spiritual search without being willing to look at the body. It's like they just never want to go there. So the spiritual doesn't exclude you from the somatic. You know, the somatic will not fix everything. You need an understanding of both, really. Yes, the absolute is true. Also, the relative is true. Both are a beautiful way to live. It's kind of like investigations of the self, relatively and somatically. My tenderness, my sensitivity, my presence, my connection to myself is, you know, happening in the relative world, and meditation and questions of non-dual nature, you know, helping me see that there's no I on behalf of which this is happening to, because it's very easy to become attached and lost in the story of I that I've been telling my whole life, you know, that is ever changing and endless in its nature. Most people, if you ask them, who are you, they will say their job title, their status, their age, their relationship status, their parental sibling status. And once you start saying, well, not that, not that, not that, not that, and you go and you take everything away from what's left, they'll say, well, I don't know. I don't know. And I say, great. Okay. Great that you don't know. That's great. Being willing not to know is essential to seeing the deeper nature of our experience.